Labour's plan to tackle the cost of living crisis is to freeze the energy price cap with immediate effect, keeping it at its current level of just under £2,000 through winter. That's the biggest dark blue bar on this chart. The red bars afterwards show the latest forecasts of where it'll shoot up to as things stand, to more than £4,200 in January. By keeping the price cap where it is, Labour claims it would save the average household £1,000. But how would they pay for it? First, an extension of the windfall tax on oil and gas companies' profits. Now, that's already expected to raise £5 billion this year, but Labour thinks it can get that to £8 billion by backdating it to January, and it wants to ditch the tax relief currently offered on new investments. That second chunk of £14 billion would come from scrapping the £400 energy rebate that's been promised to every household in October. And third, Labour projects £7 billion would come from lower interest payments on government debt, which it says would be reduced because lower energy bills would bring down inflation. Now, Labour claims CPI, Consumer Prices Index, would peak at 9%, which is where it is now, rather than the 13% the Bank of England forecasts. But experts say that's not guaranteed, and what's more, Labour's plan only runs until April. So what happens then? If bills go up, inflation would too.
This would clearly do a lot to reduce energy bills for households. Of course, leaving people with more money in their pockets to spend on other things would add to inflationary pressures elsewhere in the economy. You also have to ask what's going to happen after next April, when at the moment energy prices aren't forecast to come down. So there would presumably be a lot of pressure to carry on something like this beyond next April.
So how does this compare to the Tory leadership hopefuls? Well, we already know that Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak are unlikely to extend the windfall tax or freeze the price cap, and both would keep that £400 energy rebate. Frontrunner Liz Truss also wants to remove green and social levies from energy bills, currently worth just over £150 a year. She'd also reverse the recent national insurance hike. As for Rishi Sunak, he would scrap the 5% VAT on energy bills, saving households around £200 next year. And he's also promised to give the most vulnerable hundreds of pounds more, or exactly how much, though, he hasn't said. None of the proposals, though, tackle the fundamental problems of demand and supply. Capping bills would help households in the short term, but it wouldn't cut their consumption. And if the windfall tax is extended, energy companies may well think twice about future investment.